Hey, welcome to UFOs Above Us. We're going to do a new style video today using a screen recorder. And I've never done this before, so any comments or suggestions you have to make this better, I'm welcome to take whatever suggestions you have for me. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to look at 3 or 4 objects as we go through this, but as we look, feel free to just take your time and look at it. And if you don't want to hear my commentary, just mute me and just use it to look at the interesting stuff on the moon. But I'll point out a few things. A general comment is, I'm curious what this blue stuff is. See right there, I see some blue, flickering blue. You see some more of it right here by the first object we're going to look at, some more right there. And because they tend to show up on white areas, I wonder if that's something to do with just solar reflections in the camera. And it could be, or maybe the telescope itself, I don't know. But let's start with the first object that we're going to look at today. And it's over here. So I got a little too much brightness there. So the first object we're going to look at is right in here. This thing that's kind of shaped like a V. I call it a manta shape. If you've ever seen a stingray or a manta ray, they're kind of shaped like that. So what is that? And I'll just share with you what I think it is. But before I do, anything that I see here and I'm calling out, this is just my best guess. I know nothing more than you do. All I know is that I've spent a lot of time looking at the moon. But there's nothing that tells you what's on the moon, so it's kind of up to everybody to decide for yourself what you're seeing and interpret it for yourself. So I'm just sharing the videos and talking. And if you have any thoughts on this stuff, hey, post them in the comments and let me know. And next time, if it makes sense to me and you pointed something out that I didn't know, then I'll share it with the group next time. So I think this is a manta-shaped UFO that we're looking at right here. And I will just tell you one of the reasons why is I've observed probably a half dozen times in the past 2 years manta-shaped UFOs flying across the surface of the moon. By the way, look at all the blue right there. So you certainly see a lot of blue there. I don't know, it may be a camera artifact. Sorry, I don't want to get distracted though. Look at these little black portions right here, right there and right there. I believe those are the thrust or whatever the propulsion units are on that UFO. That's what drives it. And again, I've seen those fly across the surface. So that was the first object that I wanted to point out. And the second thing I'll just point out quickly is over in this area, there's a lot of structure. Unfortunately, my setup, when you look at the outside edge of the telescope, I'm using a Nexstar SE8 Celestron telescope. The focus is not as sharp out here as it would be in the center that you're viewing. So when you have the atmospheric distortion plus the lens distortion out here, it makes these outside areas very hard to view. So I try to pick objects that are in the center screen, and even that sometimes is out of focus. But I do my best. I'm an amateur astronomer and amateur at all this videoing of the moon. But I have been doing it a couple of years, so I'm better than I used to be. So we'll look at the next object here without further ado. I'm making the telescope, it's working its way over. The next object is going to be right in here. And I'll point out a few things about this object. First off, I'm going to lower the brightness just a hair. No, I think I do need it there. You see this L-shaped structure right here? I think that's a big building. So that's a big building. Then secondly, you see a smaller rectangular structure right there. That's a building as well. And then when I bring the brightness up, if you notice right here, there's a big V-shaped antenna-looking, tower-looking thing that's sandwiched. It's in front of the L-shaped building and behind the rectangular one. And then further, if you notice, there's a kind of an X pattern right here in front of this rectangular building. And then you got something going on right here. So I don't know what all that is, but my best guess is some kind of a structure, maybe a compound. And beside it, you even see what might be some kind of a big storage vessel here. You've got a circular opening with a white inside it. So what that is, I'm not sure of, but that's my best guess. But it certainly, does that look man-made to you or naturally occurring? And I would bet most people, if they're honest, would say, yeah, that's naturally occurring. Well, of course not. That looks like intelligent design. So, next object. This is my favorite object here, and I've got a little too much contrast for it. Okay. I want to make sure you can see this one fairly clearly because I think this is a giant statue of a man. And the man's facing this direction. He's got his arms up. That's his head. This is his chest. He's got no shirt on. You can even see some musculature right there. And then he's got dark pants on. And that's one leg. The right leg is even in front of the left leg. And the guy's kind of doing a victorious pose there. And again, you may not see all that in this picture, but I've looked at a lot of pictures of this and studied it as much as anything else, and that's what I believe we're looking at there. So, this another structure on the moon, and you can look at it there yourself and see what you think about it. And if you want to rewind this video, this raw footage, it hadn't been tampered with other than the brightness you see right here. That's all I've done to it. The final structure I'm going to look at today are these two craters, well, what looks like craters, and I'm going to share with you, I guess kind of a radical thought that I have about these things, and that is that these aren't craters at all. They look like a crater, but if you notice this, I'm going to lower the light and you can see it a little better. The bottom portion's not the same color as this section right here, and it sticks way up, not like a crater at all on both of these. What I think these are is these are either solar gathering devices or some type of heat exchanger. And you might think, well, Matt, why would there be a heat exchanger there? Let me bring the brightness all the way up and lower the contrast. And if you look real carefully, you're going to see counterclockwise rotation here. A little less brightness maybe. There we go. And counterclockwise rotation here. What these actually are, I believe, again, you can disagree, I believe they're giant vents from the surface of the moon to the subterranean portion. So that wraps up the video. I'm going to stop the feed right there and just finish up by saying, again, everything I'm saying here today is my opinion, not necessarily yours. If you disagree with me, that's fine. If you see something I didn't see, hey, point it out. I'd like to use your suggestions for future videos. And I know I kind of stumbled about quite a bit doing this, but tell me what you think about the new format as well. So without further ado, I'll wrap up by saying what I always like to say, which is don't forget, keep watching the skies.